Joe Biden's prices and his hikes cost a typical American family an estimated $33,000 and hit your workers and your customers and your small businesses. Very, very hard. The Biden administration started the affordability crisis, and my administration is ending it. My pledge to every family and every small business is that I will not rest until you are richer, stronger, more successful, happier, till you've gotten a piece of the American dream.
President Trump there unveiling his push for affordability in America Tuesday as the White House works to address the cost of America's housing crisis. The median age for all American homebuyers jumping to 59 years old. That's the median homeowner, according to the National Association of Realtors. Now, the share of first-time homebuyers now at a record low 21%, a median age of 40 years old for first-time homebuyers. A new analysis showing the cost of hidden home ownership, $16,000 a year. This is hidden ownership. It includes insurance, maintenance, and property taxes. The 30-year fixed mortgage rate sitting at 6.2%. That is a slight increase from a week ago. President Trump recently proposing the idea of a 50-year mortgage for Americans. I'll be speaking about all of this coming up when I speak with the founder and CEO of Pershing Square Capital Management. Bill Ackman will be here in the 8 a.m. hour. Don't miss that. First, though, joining us now is Housing and Urban Development Secretary Scott Turner. Secretary, good to see you.
Nice to see you, Maria.
Thank you so much for joining the conversation. Tell us how you are tackling what people are calling an affordability crisis and a housing crisis.
Well, thank you, Maria. It's good to be with you. Well, first, when we came into this administration, our fiscal house was not in order. Inflation was at an all-time high. Interest rates were high. Mortgage rates were high. And so the first thing we've been doing at HUD is tackling the regulatory environment. One of the first acts we had was taking down the affirmatively furthering fair housing rule, which really made Washington a national zoning board. And so taking this rule down has restored local control. And I know the president talks a lot about the regulatory environment. Maria, one thing that your viewers should know, when you build a multifamily housing project, 40% of the cost of that is in regulation. And a single family project, about 20 to 25% of that cost is regulation. So tearing down the regulatory environment from a federal standpoint and also encouraging firmly that localities also take inventory of their regulatory environment, because that really is what cripples development and building.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why President Trump has made it a priority to roll back regulations.
Right.
But I guess, people are wondering about the supply. Is there anything you can do to create more supply? Isn't supply, a lack of supply, one of the big issues here?
Absolutely. Well, when you bring the cost down, the supply will go up. And another policy is our opportunity zone policy, which you're very familiar with. Opportunity zones have been very successful. About $90 billion of private money have been invested in opportunity zones, and hundreds of thousands, about 300,000 new housing units have been built in opportunity zones. So with the president and the One Big Beautiful Bill, opportunity zones are now made permanent. So the housing supply will go up, the costs will come down, and American people can achieve the American dream.
Your department is also probing how illegal immigrants have put a strain on the housing market. What can you tell us? You signed a memorandum with the DHS to end wasteful misappropriation of taxpayer money.
Absolutely.
For, quote, illegal alien exploitation of housing programs. You're also working with the Federal Housing Administration to crack down on government-backed mortgages for illegals. How do they get a mortgage if you're actually illegal in the country?
Well, Maria, during the Biden administration, there were over 12 million illegal aliens that came over the border, straining our housing supply and making the costs go up. And so we work with Secretary Noem at DHS, as you alluded to make sure that only American citizens are living in HUD-funded housing. We also took away FHA-backed mortgages from illegal aliens during the Biden administration. They turned a blind eye. But we're going to keep the law to make sure that these mortgages, which are backed by the taxpayer, go only to the American people. And lastly, we are mandating that every public housing authority give us a comprehensive account who's living in every unit in taxpayer HUD-funded housing.
Wow. Ashley Davis, another impact of that wide-open border.
Absolutely, which I always talk about. But when the secretary worked for the president last term, you did so much with opportunity zones, but also homelessness is one of your biggest issues. Yeah. And we see it here. It's so much better than it was even a year ago. Are you seeing it better throughout the country?
Well, homelessness, with record funding, Maria, almost $80 billion. Under the Biden administration, about $12 billion was spent on continuum of care, which is the homeless policy.
So you're not encouraging anybody to try to get themselves in a better place by working?
No, well, what we're doing is you look at record funding, but yet homelessness went up almost 33% over the last several years.
Wow.
And so what we've done is now take this Biden-era slush fund called the Continuum of Care and turned it into not just housing, but also treatment and transitional housing.
Yeah.
No one wants homelessness on their streets.
Of course.
We definitely don't want homeless on the street, but because we care, it's compassionate, common sense to use the American taxpayer dollar, not just to warehouse homelessness, but also to treat them so they can live a life of self-sustainability.
And that's why you announced a nearly $4 billion in competitive grant funding to reform homelessness programs. That would, of course, end that slush fund from the Biden administration. You're prioritizing the most vulnerable Americans. How do you do that? Tell us how you will, you say, restore accountability to these homelessness programs.
Well, again, so taking it from just housing to now housing and treatment. We have to put the axe head to the root. What is the root cause of homelessness? Mental illness, drug addiction, drug abuse. During the Biden administration, it was just warehousing. It was a homeless industrial complex, basically, a slush fund for nonprofits around the country. They were awarded because of the more people that they had in their system. Well, we want to award people for not only housing them, but treating them, transforming them, and getting them back to a life of self-sustainability.
Well, I mean, if I remember correctly, during the Biden administration, they were giving out drug kits with needles and all of that. And I thought to myself, why would you give a drug addict needles to continue taking drugs?
Right. Well, and that's the difference here under President Trump's leadership. We actually care about the American people. We don't want more people homeless. We don't want more people on the streets, more people dying of drug addictions. We want people literally to live in dignity, and if they do happen to pass away if they're homeless, to die in dignity. I have my uncle. We found him homeless several years ago. He was an American veteran.
Wow.
And because we were able to get wraparound services around him to treat him, the last 3 years of his life were the greatest 3 years of his life because he lived and died in dignity. That's what I want for the American people, to be able to live in dignity and to have a self-sufficient and self-sustainable life. And so that's why you see this paradigm shift.
Well, thank God for your efforts, for your uncle, certainly. But look, when we talk about what's going on in New York, you know, with these free buses ideas, I think it's going to be a free homelessness bus, because people who are homeless will get on the bus and just ride the bus all day long.
Yeah, we can't keep doing what we've been doing. Yeah. We can't keep running the same plays. You know, I played in the NFL, and we had a playbook. And the coaches would call certain plays, but if that play is not working, go to the playbook and get a new play. And so that's what we're doing now. It's just a different playbook.
I love that you were in the NFL. Thanks for reminding us of that. Secretary, it's great to see you.
Nice to see you.
All right, Scott Turner joining us here. Stay with us. We'll be right back.